In less than a minute, two small boats carrying Russian soldiers were wiped out in the middle of a river, leaving no safe escape and no second chance as FPV drones smaller than a backpack delivered the final blows. The first strike disabled one boat, forced survivors into the water, and turned a routine crossing into a fight for life, while the second boat was tracked, hit, and driven out of control before it could reach cover. Thermal footage later showed the wreckage trapped in reeds, confirming that the losses were complete and that every movement had been seen, followed, and punished in real time. This was a clear snapshot of how the war in Ukraine is shifting, where routes once labeled low risk are now among the most dangerous places on the battlefield. As the conflict drags on and manpower and equipment are stretched thin, each failed river crossing now carries a heavier cost, not only in casualties, but in exposing a deeper truth about modern combat. Control of the low sky has become the deciding factor, because the side that owns constant observation can slow movement, force mistakes, and decide when violence begins and ends. The real question is no longer why two boats were destroyed, but what happens next to any force that still believes it can move unseen, untracked, and unchallenged in a war where the air just above the ground never looks away. The river crossing began as a routine movement that many units still believe can slip through attention. But this time, the approach was already exposed before the first paddle touched the water. A small group of Russian soldiers prepared to cross by boat, moving with the assumption that open water offered speed and a brief window of safety. Yet, Ukrainian drones were already watching the route from above. The presence of the drone did not force an immediate strike because the priority was control rather than speed, and the camera followed the boats long enough to confirm direction, spacing, and timing. When the FPV drone committed, the attack came in clean and direct, striking the first boat in the middle of the river and instantly turning movement into chaos. The hit did not sink the vessel at once, but it removed balance and momentum, which forced the soldiers to abandon it and jump into the water under pressure. Cold water and heavy gear slowed every motion, and the river that was meant to hide them instead fixed their position in place. Survivors swam toward a second boat, acting on instinct rather than planning, believing that distance from the damaged craft would reduce danger and restore control. That assumption proved fatal because the FPV drone never broke contact and simply shifted focus to the next target without delay. As the second boat tried to accelerate, the drone adjusted its path, closed the angle, and struck again before the crew could reach cover or change course. This moment exposed the central mistake behind the entire attempt, which was the belief that speed and open space could defeat observation in a battle space shaped by constant aerial presence. Water did not block the view, and movement did not confuse the sensor because the drone operator was not reacting to surprise but following a process already set in motion. The second strike showed that detection and engagement were part of the same action, not two separate stages with time between them. Once the chain began, there was no pause for recovery, regrouping, or escape, and every decision by the soldiers came after the outcome was already locked in. Unlike earlier footage where ambush depended on timing or luck, this sequence showed a deliberate hunt with the drone staying overhead and waiting for the right moment to finish the task. The difference matters because it reveals a shift from opportunity-based attacks to control-based engagements where the attacker decides not only how to strike, but when to allow the target to move. From the ground, the crossing may have looked quiet and fast, yet from above it was slow, predictable, and fully mapped. The river stopped being a route and became a corridor of exposure, where every splash and turn made the situation clearer to the operator watching the feed. This was not a breakdown caused by panic at the start, but a collapse that began with a wrong assumption about visibility and ended with no remaining options. The soldiers reacted with training shaped by older risks, while the threat they faced belonged to a system designed to follow, rather than rush in this kind of fight. The first mistake is not the crossing itself, but the belief that there is still a place where movement can happen unseen. What unfolded on the water showed that the battle was decided long before the second boat was hit because the key factor was not firepower, but uninterrupted awareness. Once that awareness is established, speed loses value, distance shrinks, and escape becomes a theory rather than a choice. Once the damaged boat lost control and drifted into the reeds, the fight entered a different phase because survival now depended on whether the Ukrainian would pause or press the advantage. There was no pause. As the boat slowed and movement became limited by shallow water and dense vegetation, a bomber FPV was brought in to finish what the FPV strike had started. This shift mattered because the first hit had already done its job by stopping escape, while the second platform was tasked with removal rather than disruption. From above, the scene was clear and stable. The reeds that might hide a soldier from ground view only outlined the target more sharply from the air, and the trapped position removed the last option to scatter or reposition. The bomber drone approached with patience rather than speed, aligning its drop while the target remained fixed and exposed. When the munition was released, the effect was decisive because there was no space left to absorb shock or move away from the blast zone. Thermal imaging later confirmed what the visual feed had already suggested, which was that the vessel and the men around it were no longer operational threats. Heat signatures faded quickly, shapes collapsed into debris, and the area returned to stillness without any sign of organized movement. This confirmation step is critical to understanding what unfolded, because it shows intent rather than impulse. The attack was not rushed, and it was not driven by emotion or reaction, but by a sequence designed to close every door one by one. What happened on the river illustrates a complete combat chain that now defines many engagements, starting with observation, moving through FPV interception, transitioning to bomber, delivery, and ending with verification. The most important detail is not the explosion itself, but the absence of a gap between actions. There was no moment where the surviving soldiers could regroup, signal for help, or exploit confusion because the system did not rely on surprise after the first contact. Once the boat entered the monitored zone, the outcome became a matter of timing rather than chance. This kind of pressure changes how decisions are made under fire. Abandoning the boat did not reset the situation, and entering the water did not remove the threat because the sensors stayed locked and the follow-on asset was already in position. The common belief that leaving a damaged platform creates a second chance does not hold in an environment where multiple drones share the same picture. The bomber FPV did not arrive as a separate response, but as part of a plan that assumed the first strike would force the target into a predictable space. That predictability is what made the final step possible. Thermal confirmation then removed uncertainty, allowing operators to close the sequence without the need for additional passes or risk. This approach shows a shift away from single-hit attacks toward controlled elimination, where every phase is designed to reduce risk for the attacker while increasing pressure on the target. By the time the bomber FPV released its payload, the crossing attempt had already ended, and what followed was not a battle, but a conclusion delivered step by step. When the camera shifted from boats to individuals on the ground, the battle entered its most revealing phase because technology stopped being abstract and began to expose how human behavior breaks down under constant aerial pressure. Footage from elite Ukrainian FPV units showed Russian soldiers reacting not as a coordinated force, but as isolated individuals who suddenly realized they were being watched with no clear way out. The first visible change was confusion. Men looked around without direction, scanned the sky too late, and moved in short bursts that showed hesitation rather than intent because the threat could not be located by sound or distance. Panic followed quickly, but it did not appear as screaming or disorderly flight. Instead, it appeared as frozen decisions where bodies stopped moving and choices narrowed to instinctive reactions shaped by older battlefield logic. Some soldiers dropped flat on the ground and remained still, hoping that motionless shapes would blend into the terrain and escape attention. Others pressed themselves against trees or crawled into bushes, trusting natural cover that once worked against ground observers and distant optics. A few attempted to imitate casualties, lying in open areas with the belief that drones were programmed to ignore bodies that no longer moved. None of these responses achieved the intended effect. From above, the FPV maintained a steady view that removed the limits of horizontal sight, and the longer the camera stayed overhead, the clearer the scene became. Leaves, branches, and shadows that confused the human eye did not block perspective from altitude, and stillness only made outlines easier to track over time. The drone did not rush. It followed, circled, adjusted height, and waited for the moment when certainty replaced guesswork, which stripped each hiding attempt of its value. Traditional infantry training teaches movement between cover, control of noise, and use of terrain to reduce visibility. Yet, all of these skills assume an observer limited by line of sight. FPV drones removed that limit by holding position above the battlefield, where time works in favor of the operator rather than the target. As seconds passed, minor details became markers. Heat patterns differed from surrounding ground. Disturbed vegetation drew attention, and unnatural shapes remained visible even without motion. The longer a soldier stayed in one place, the more information was gathered, and the drone operator could choose when to act without pressure. Every attempt to hide became a negotiation with a sensor that never blinked, never tired, and never looked away. Without a clear sense of where danger comes from, coordination collapses, and individual survival instincts take over, which fragments any remaining unit structure. The drone did not need to chase aggressively because confusion created predictability. Movements followed patterns that were easy to read, and hesitation replaced decisive action. This dynamic shows why traditional camouflage and concealment methods are losing value in environments dominated by low-altitude FPV. Three-dimensional control changes the relationship between space and safety because protection can no longer be measured by distance alone. A tree is no longer a shield, and a bush is no longer concealment when observation comes from above and stays in place as long as needed. The footage does not show heroics or dramatic last stands. It shows how a battlefield governed by drones turns human reactions into liabilities, where every instinct learned under older conditions leads to outcomes that no longer apply. What the FPV cameras captured is a warning that in a war where the air is always watching, hiding has become a temporary illusion rather than a reliable tactic. What becomes clear when looking beyond the river scene is that FPV drones did not appear overnight as a miracle weapon, but evolved into a frontline tool through repeated use and refinement. Early footage from 2023 already showed FPV drones striking Russian tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. Yet those moments were rare and often framed as unusual successes rather than routine battlefield actions. At that stage, FPV use was limited by range, reliability, and operator experience, which meant each attack felt like an experiment rather than part of a wider plan. Crews launched drones when opportunity appeared, not because doctrine demanded it, and success depended heavily on timing and favorable conditions. That pattern has changed. In areas of intense fighting, such as PICROC, FPV drones are now used regularly against both infantry and armored vehicles, and their presence shapes movement, even before contact occurs. Columns slow down, dismounted troops hesitate, and support vehicles keep greater distance because the threat is assumed rather than confirmed. This shift matters because repetition turns a tool into a system. When strikes happen again and again in the same sectors, the message spreads faster than any briefing and units begin to adjust behavior based on expectation rather than surprise. At POCRS, FPV drones are no longer deployed only against high V-value targets, but against whatever element threatens momentum at that moment. An armored vehicle moving to resupply a position draws attention just as quickly as a tank advancing toward the line, because both represent movement that can be stopped at low cost. This consistent use shows that FPV drones have moved out of the experimental phase and into everyday combat planning. Operators no longer wait for ideal conditions. They launch under pressure, adapt mid-flight, and coordinate with other assets that already hold the picture of the battlefield. The result is not a single dramatic explosion, but steady pressure that limits options and drains confidence. Compared to older clips where one successful hit stood out, newer footage emphasizes continuity. Targets are identified, engaged, and followed up without long gaps, which shows that FPV strikes are now expected outcomes rather than lucky breaks. This regularity is what marks the transition from temporary solution to primary weapon. Another important change is how armor is treated. In earlier phases, tanks and IFVs were approached with caution because missing the strike meant wasting a scarce asset. Today, FPV teams engage armored vehicles as part of normal flow, trusting experience and volume to compensate for failure. When one drone misses or is jammed, another is launched, and the pressure continues without pause. This approach does not depend on perfect hits, but on persistence. At POCRS, the battlefield shows what happens when that persistence becomes routine. Vehicles hesitate at tree lines, infantry spreads out more thinly, and coordination slows as commanders account for threats they cannot see. The drone does not need to appear to influence behavior because the possibility of its presence already shapes decisions. The emphasis is no longer on the strike itself, but on how often it occurs and how quickly it follows detection. This pattern reveals that FPV drones have taken a permanent role in how Ukraine fights at the tactical level. They are not filling a gap until something better arrives. They are defining how space is controlled, how armor is used, and how infantry moves under fire. What Pokropsk demonstrates is that FPV drones are no longer treated as temporary answers to shortages. What defines the current phase of FPV warfare is not a single dramatic strike, but the pace at which pressure is applied again and again without pause. Ukrainian FPV units now fly dozens of sorties each day with FPV drones prepared, launched, replaced, and relaunched in a steady cycle that mirrors an assembly line rather than an ad hoc effort. This rhythm matters because it removes the idea that a strike is a rare event and replaces it with the expectation that another drone is already waiting. Operators do not work in isolation or long planning windows. They function as links inside a wider combat chain where decisions are made in seconds based on live feeds, shared awareness, and simple priorities. In engagements against tanks and armored vehicles, this speed changes outcomes in a visible way. An FPV drone approaches low and fast, striking weak points on turrets or rear sections, and a single hit can disable or destroy a weapon platform that took months to build and train crews to operate. The value of that exchange does not come from the cost difference alone, but from the timing. The strike often happens while the vehicle is moving to support infantry or reposition under pressure, which turns a moment of coordination into a moment of loss. Another scene shows a second armored vehicle attempting to maneuver away after the first impact, only to be tracked by a follow-on FPV that closes the distance and finishes the job. There is no long gap between these actions. The operator transitions immediately, guided by the same picture, and the sequence ends before the crew can react or abandon the vehicle in an organized way. This pattern repeats across lighter platforms as well. Motorcycles and quad bikes are often used to move quickly across exposed ground, relying on speed and small size to reduce risk. FPV teams track these movements from above, follow the route, and relay position data while preparing the strike. One drone shadows the vehicle long enough to confirm direction and intent, while another is launched to intercept at the right moment. The result is a sudden impact that leaves no time to scatter or dismount safely. In another scene, a quad bike attempts to change direction after sensing danger, but the adjustment only sharpens its outline against the terrain, making tracking easier rather than harder. These engagements show that the real strength of FPV operations lies in continuity. Targets are not hunted by a single operator acting alone, but by a flow of drones and decisions that keeps pressure constant. If one attempt fails, the next is already in motion. This approach reshapes how combat power is distributed. The operator becomes as critical as the platform because awareness and timing now carry as much weight as armor or firepower. The open question is not whether FPV drones can destroy vehicles because that answer is already visible. The question is how severe the losses will become for any force that cannot match this pace, adapt its movement, and break a cycle that punishes hesitation within seconds rather than minutes. The destroyed boats in the middle of the river were not just a tactical loss caught on camera. They marked a clear warning that the battlefield has entered a phase where movement itself has become dangerous, and where every attempt to hide, advance, or reposition can be detected and punished within moments. Across this fight, FPV drones exposed crossings that once felt manageable, followed targets without breaking contact, and closed each engagement step by step until no safe option remained. From the first strike on open water, to bomber drones finishing trapped targets, to individual soldiers freezing or hiding under trees, the same pattern repeated with cold precision. What once depended on surprise now depends on control, and what once offered escape now creates exposure. The scenes from pokers and other contested areas show that FPV drones are no longer emergency tools or clever tricks. They are shaping how infantry moves, how armor supports attacks, and how commanders calculate risk under constant observation. The deeper question is what comes next. Will new countermeasures slow this cycle, or will the tempo continue to rise until hesitation becomes more costly than action? If this kind of clear frontline analysis matters, support the work by liking the video, sharing it with others who follow modern warfare, and subscribing to the World War History channel for more updates as these changes unfold.